Sun is shining here, blue skies for miles on this Saturday afternoon here at Gulfstream Park. Already August the 8th here with those postcard palm trees standing at attention here above and surrounding the infield lake at Gulfstream, as we have a lot of turf on the program. In fact, a couple of stakes races a bit later on, as Jason Blewett welcomes you to another live Saturday edition, in this case, of Gulfstream Park today. But this card absolutely has some firepower scattered throughout, but mainly on the turf when you look at a big field of two-year-old maidens. In fact, no fewer than 12 in the 12:05 opener, and then you've got the Martha Washington and the Not Surprising Stakes coming up a bit later in the afternoon. We welcome in Ron Nicoletti, my co-host here on the broadcast. Ronnie, I like the jacket, I like the tie, and we were seeing during the Open, you and I were kind of chatting just with a smiling and triumphant Manny Franco aboard Tiz the Law from the Curlin, Florida Derby. Will we potentially see a similar scene late this afternoon, early evening up at Saratoga with Tiz in the Midsummer Derby?
Well, he's done nothing wrong. He's just been incredible. And, he follows the Florida Derby now. And he didn't only win the Belmont. He won the Belmont impressively. So we'll see. It's his home track. Of course, we're rooting for him. We always want to get that. What was that stat you had, a Florida Derby winner?
Belmont, Florida Derby winner, and the Travers. One horse in close to 70 years of history, and that only horse to have won all three of those, including the Kentucky Derby, too, which is insane, is Thunder Gulch. I mean, so Tiz the Law has got a shot to join a terrific horse who in 1995 was three-year-old champion, and he was just, that horse was made of iron, wasn't he, Thunder Gulch?
Thunder Gulch I had in the Kentucky Derby was looking around and said, I'm going to put some money on it. He was a big price.
Big price, yeah.
Big price. And the only reason I bet it, I just said, I'll bet him too. He wasn't handicapping or nothing. That's why I always have a fond memory of Thunder Gulch.
Yeah, my dad's favorite horse of all time. And it's funny, the horse prior to Thunder Gulch to win just the Florida Derby and the Travers was Holy Bull. And by my count, I think only 4 horses have won the Florida Derby and Travers. It was Honest Pleasure, Alidar, Holy Bull, and Thunder Gulch. So, again, that is a tough double to pull off, and we're wishing Tiz the Law all the very best a bit later today at Saratoga Racecourse. Yesterday afternoon, once again, it was hashtag Overlay City, as the man upstairs, Pete Aiello, often says with the Stronach 5. You had a $32 winner onto Tench here, who won the second leg at $14.20 for trainer Tim Ham, and a couple of winners, Ronnie, capped this thing at $4.20 apiece, and it still paid almost $7,500.
Yeah, once Laurel Park, you saw that horse, it was very impressive, winning it by 15-1. You knew that this thing was going to play big bucks again, and certainly it has. And a great bet, and it's each and every Friday.
And that works well. Talking about a big pool and big bucks into the mandatory payout here tomorrow afternoon on that 11-race Sunday card. We've got a mandatory Rainbow Six cash out. When you factor in the guarantee today is $1.5 million. We are talking a gargantuan pool in about 24 hours' time.
Yeah, but you got that chance to get it today with that $1.5 million jackpot guarantee this afternoon. So we'll see how it plays out today. With as you mentioned, we got 12 nice races, 6 of those in the Rainbow Six. If we don't get that single today, tomorrow it could be 5, it could be 6. I'm always guessing wrong. I think it's going to be 5, and then it's 8.
Yeah, well, I know. I tend to play things a little conservatively, too. We'll see. Hopefully 5 is the minimum there. But, appreciate everybody's support here at Gulfstream, playing the mandatory Rainbow Sixes, and that card tomorrow, maybe a lean, and that we'll talk about that a bit later, but maybe a lean on Kelsey's Cross in the stake race here tomorrow afternoon as she looks to get back on track. But again, this is now, and the now includes, the present includes an early pick 5 play for me, in which I don't love, if I'm being honest. I had a couple of different iterations of this ticket in my head and on paper, and I opted to single. There are going to be 2 monstrously short odds-on favorites in the third with Just Kidding, followed by Our Man Joe in the fourth. Both those horses are going to be far less than even money, and I think they are both very likely winners. So in a way, a little bit heavy-handed. I used a 4-horse spread to start, and I've got coverage in the 2 other races using 1-2-6 and 1-2-11. I guess the point is, even though you've got Just Kidding and Our Man Joe in the third and fourth, this is not a race where you're going to start things out with the favorite probably lower than 5-2 or even 3-1. It's just that kind of field of 2-year-old filly maiden special weight types where it's a race, Ronnie, and a good-sized field either dominated by first-time starters or horses trying the turf first time off nondescript dirt races. It's a very, very difficult race to start, and I see you and I, we both obviously went to the familiar connections of the three Zap Mama, who's got Mike Maker and Edgar Zayas.
Yeah, daughter of mine debuts for Mike with 11 morning workouts showing in preparation for this assignment. And Edgar Zayas to be in the satellite like that. I looked up a stat. I didn't put it on on the screen, but Mike is with the route races. 2-year-olds, first time starters. He's 4 for 59, only 7%. And the horse that we have at second, Kenny McPeak, is 4 for he's I forget what he is. He's 4 for 11.
He's not a firster guy.
Yeah.
Maker seems to do it a little more often. In fact, Mike has got two-year-old turf first out winners here at Gulfstream in 2020 in Camp by Love and Fulmini. So that's an angle that's worked quite well. He hasn't run all that many 2-year-olds as it stands, and his pair of 2-year-old winners both won first out on the turf. But yeah, no, McPeak's never been a guy to just crank them up for one race and go from there. So I like the pedigree. I like Amisael taking the call on the number 1 Lazy Summer Day. But again, it is likely far from just a 2-horse affair when I thought the 6 Monorail might run okay. First full out of a Grade 1 winning dirt mare in Off the Tracks, who won the Mother Goose for Todd Pletcher in 2016. Air Calvary's got a very strong female family. Claiborne farm female family. And then you've got the 2 towards the outside for Carlos David and Crystal Coast, and the 12 who you use, Love It or Eyes, for a trainer. 3 wins over the last couple of cards here. Yeah, and also the horse that's currently favored now is also from the Kenny McPeak barn, so he's got 2 in here. Just goes to show you how wide open. A tough race to get out of. I might have hit the all button when I was putting my early pick 5 ticket together. I hear you, dude. And again, I guess the beauty of having, depending upon your stance, either Just Kidding and/or Our Man Joe, you could really go deep here and try to get a price home where you've got 1 or maybe even 2 favorites, again, depending upon how you feel in races 3 and 4, that you could lean on quite heavily. Second race is a 6-horse affair in terms of the metrics, but in reality, at least on paper, it's about 3 horses, who all, by the way, have potential holes in their resumes and maybe some chinks in the armor, beginning with the rail horse More Than Usual, who I still think might be a little suspect going this trip on a dry track. The 2 Super Highway, who just did not run for Safi off a pretty solid, all things considered, maiden claiming victory in June. Does he rebound and run a bit better off the claim for Marcio Navarro? And the 6 January 1 is not a turf horse, and he's back on the dirt this afternoon as my top pick for trainer Ken McPeak. I wanted somebody that could just chug along and grind in this race, and I think I hopefully found it with the 6 January 1. Well, I looked up a stat for Kenny McPeak with horses going turf to dirt claimers. He's 12 for 55, 22%, 45% in the money. 147 is the return of investment. But Jason, I did go with the, I have. Is that a good stat? Or yeah, it's a good stat. Okay. 22%, yeah. Okay. Are you kidding me? Out of 55 runners, you don't expect to see these stats is what I love about him. You don't think Kenny going from turf to dirt this much, So yeah. I like showing those type of stats where people go, hey, he does okay with it. It's not 60%, put it that way, but it's a decent stat, Yeah, so, fair enough, fair enough. And then you like More Than Usual down inside. Are you looking just to wire this thing with Edgar? Yeah, and it's just moving to the Amador Sanchez barn. He's been going good. He breaks from the rail again. He set the pace. He finished third. New connections. They put Edgar in. And January 1, and as you mentioned, Superhighway maybe bounces back. I like that one in the 3rd spot, actually, to get part of the try. But if it won, I would not be shocked. Now, winning is something that Just Kidding, who's going to be a massive favorite in the 3rd, even shorter than he would have been had the number 5 horse, Big Boy Bruno, stayed in. And I thought this might be the day Big Boy Bruno, off a reset button for Peter, could maybe turn things around and catch a horse who just hasn't been lighting the world on fire at one short price after another. But, man, even with losing at 3-5, 6-5, and 5-2 as a beaten favorite in his last 3 races, I mean, where else could you go in this race and make some sense with the 2 Just Kidding? Yeah, it's an winners of, a dated claimer since February 8th. He's had those spate of second-place finishes, but this is a much easier spot. And you get Nemesiel Jaramillo. He closed it out like you did with Dexter Rodas, hoping to show more during the stretch run against a little cheaper this afternoon.
He was against 8 open claimers last time out for Tammy Levy, and I closed it with charge card now. But boy, just kidding, jumps off the page with the scratch of big boy Bruno.
Look, and going 5 in the next race on the turf, you've got a different race and a different horse, very different looking horse, but a real similar sentiment with our man Joe, who I think, as we go back to his last start, this was just a race he ran fine, and coincidentally was cut down by Shared Legacy, who's trained by Marat Sankal, who's back in the mix today with the other Joe horse and the number 5 Joe Benjamin. But here's the difference, I think, between our man Joe for Georgina and Rich Averill, who's about to take the lead, and he just wasn't able to really punch when he got away from that horse to his inside, and Marat's horse, Shared Legacy, just wears him down. But the one stark contrast on paper is our man Joe has been a very speedy and consistently good performer going 5 on the turf, where I think the 5 Joe Benjamin has run probably every bit as well as our man Joe, but he's been doing it in races much longer than this. And boy, I just don't think going this trip in this spot, our man Joe could have timed it any better.
Well, there's the quartet of second place finishes. That's the thing. That's sort of a little bit of playing devil advocate with our man Joe. But one of those was in the 75 Texas Glitter. But the way this turf course has been playing, Georgina's good with this type of layoff. I think our man Joe is going to really run well this afternoon. I use Weekend Dreamer in second, and Don V for Efren Loza Jr. Just respect the work that he does, whether it's turf or dirt. So I thought maybe that horse can grab a share at a little bit of a price.
And Rare to See Belong to Me as a dam sire. I mean, that is an OG name there. And Don V, in fact, out of a Belong to Me dam, I had noticed the dam herself on track a few years back. Did win a couple of turf races, and we'll see if he can make an impact there against a horse who I think is 3-5 or 4-5 on the morning line in our man Joe. We stay potentially with Georgina right back in the mix here as we also continue on going 5 furlongs on the turf with the 12-5 to 10-5 claimer. And I just think in terms of just top billing on the marquee to discuss this race at 11:20 in the morning, the biggest bullet point and most important in my estimation is that 3-horse rematch from late in June, in fact on June 27th, and we'll hit the replay machine again and look at Black Jet. Got a great ride. I mean, he was able to clear off and did his thing as an on-the-lead type speedster beneath Amisael, who's back aboard today. Sturgeon interests me in this spot, and he was obviously outrun. He kind of followed Tenacity Zip, the 6, although Tenacity Zip angled out and Sturgeon opted to stay inside. Yet at this point, Sturgeon will start to angle off the rail. I don't know if you can say emphatically he would have won, but he did run into a little bit of a steady there and a little bit of misfortune and deep stretch. And I'm just hoping with cleaner sailing from a better post today than what Black Jet has in their rematch, he's able to turn the tables and get a little lucky.
Yeah, he's up there. What is he? He's a third choice on the line. I did go with the 2 Diamond Mint, who you have in third, who's dropping to the 12-5 level today, after returning from the layoff, to duel for the lead and finish third against those 16 claimers. Monica Magui is Sammy Camacho in the saddle today. Speed play for me. Black Jet for the reasons you just shown. But I got to deal with that outside post this afternoon. We'll see how this horse runs. And Pure Luck in third for me.
So you looking for Diamond Mitt to potentially just play out as the inside speed, or let Black Jet go and try to get covered up in behind?
Yeah, I mean, just watching the races over the last couple of days, it looks like you want to have your inside speed. Now that can change today. As you know, we did these, handicap these races a couple of days ago. But I'm just always looking for that inside speed. And boy, Sammy Camacho is just knowing where to put his horses recently.
Yeah, definitely. 3 wins for Sammy here on Thursdays. He gets ready to ride King Guillermo in the Kentucky Derby in about 4 weeks' time. Pretty crazy. We're talking about Tiz the Law and Uncle Chuck and the Travers when the Kentucky Derby is still 4 weeks down the line on the calendar.
It's so strange. I think I got to talk to you about this off the air when we have some time. Do you think it's harder for this to win this Triple Crown than the other Triple Crown?
That's an interesting point, and it's a whole other sidebar. But someone had mentioned when I tweeted out real fast the Thunder Gulch stat that I found, or at least that history fact that Thunder Gulch is the only horse to have won the Florida Derby, the Belmont, and the Travers. Someone had said, do you deduct points if Tiz the Law does do it because the Belmont was at 9 furlongs? And I don't agree with that. And I was thinking, if you're Barkley Tag with that horse, how everything post-Florida Derby here, which was run on schedule, he left Florida basically. You look from mid-April on, everything was in a holding pattern. So I feel as though your point right there, yeah, I think this Triple Crown might be harder to win because, again, it's in flux. You know what I mean? Barkley had to keep that horse going so sharp without getting him over the top,
Yeah, plus you get a new shooter, in the Travers or somewhere and just ends up in the Kentucky Derby. So, well, we'll talk about that some other time. I just thought it was interesting. By the way, think it's harder.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's pretty bananas, but I'm glad we have Barkley on our side, and there's a couple of horses by Uncle Mo in the Travers too, which makes me happy. Now, no Uncle Mo firster in the sixth here, as we revert back to a cast of 2-year-old filly maiden special weight types before the break. But there are a couple of young stallions. I think maybe most importantly, well, two of them. Former Preakness winner and Exaggerator, who's got the 7, Alexandra Am I for Antonio, and my top pick, who's by Jess's Dream, and that is the number 4, Rest of the Story. This, like taking a page from what we discussed in the first, maybe not really Eddie Please's game as far as just cranking up for one big race first out of the box, but this field could be ripe for just a new face who's been working well. And why don't we take a look at Rest of the Story's OBS breeze. Now, this was back in June, in early June. The April sale in the program is now the early June sale, given how wonky 2020 is. But it looks like this filly is pretty quick. She had went a couple of furlongs in 21-2, or rather 10-3. And sold for good money here, almost $100,000, almost a 6-figure purchase price by Jess's Dream, who only had run the one time. Now, if you recall, he's curling out of Rachel Alexandra, and he only ran the once and then was retired. The dam herself won a couple of times sprinting on the dirt. That's the first foal out of Holiday Flair. I'm going to go with the 4, Rest of the Story. But I think, given the presence of first-time starters in this race, if you were to say to me now, who might be the fastest right out of the gate, I think it's probably going to be, my vote would be on your top pick, the 3, Highland Moon, who's going out for Gilberto Zerpa. We know this guy has a lot of speed horses in his barn.
Yeah, this one, the daughter of Bodemeister, debuting for Gilberto with the stringers. Really swift morning workout showing over at Gulfstream Park West. Want to show you stat of Gilberto Zerpa with his 2-year-old, first-time starters on the dirt. He's 8 for 23, 35%, 57% in the money, and a positive ROI of $2.73. One of these races, you'll see, you wouldn't be surprised if a first-time starter comes up and runs like the 4-horse, like the 3. Mm-hmm. And I used the number 2 Dauntless Gem as a daughter Will Take Charge, debuting for John Service, consistent workout padding up at Palm Meadows, a little bit of a wide-open affair there.
And by a former Travers winner in Will Take Charge, who for D. Wayne and I think Louis Saez, in fact, that was one of Louis' first big horses a few years back at Saratoga, the number 2 Dauntless Gals. We take a little breather here with about 40 minutes out to race 1. Back with the Rainbow in just a second.
In the 2-path. Ground off first inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 on top. It's last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Sun is shining here at a view from a spot everybody wants to get to, but not an easy place to wind up. That's the winner's circle. Depending upon the weather, it's always cool or hot, depending, again, if it's cold outside, that is the place to be. And we'll crown 12 individual winners throughout the next few hours here, beginning in about 40 minutes' time at 12:05. Ronnie and Jason back with all of you. Act number 2 here on Gulfstream Park today, and you're just in time if you're joining us because we've got $1.5 million in the Rainbow Six jackpot.
Yeah, I got a $57.60 ticket this afternoon, and 3 deep in here with till the end. So Seamus and Rhythmia to start it off, and then 3 deep in race number 8 with Chill Hayes, Semper Fi, Excalibur in that spot. Too deep in race number 9. Excuse me, that's the Martha Washington. I think there's two of the major horses in there, Tornasol and yesterday once more. And then race 10, I went too deep with Markistan and Mystic Come Home. That's where I'm a little light. And in the 11th race, I was so wide open. There's nobody you could leave. I had to use all the different horses there. Montfort, Graceful Kitten, Give Me 20, and Kokomo. So I went 4 deep in there, closed it out with a little bit of a speed play in the last 9, Hero Up.
Now, the 7th race again launches this thing. We've got, I think, almost a couple of different camps. You've got the 2 from Safi until the end and the 5 Rhythmia, who I put 1-2, and you prefer a Safi horse down inside until the end. They're coming out of the same race, and I thought they both ran pretty well in that spot, and I like the quality of that over the channel field. I think that could be a live race as they are the first 2 to return from that spot on the turf. The other camp of horses, led by the 9 Sir Seamus, is the run and gun, take no prisoners. I mean, Cowboys and Indians type style. Race goes through the 9 Sir Seamus, who it's almost like catching a tiger by the tail. You know, you're almost damned if you run with them, but if you let him get away, Ronnie, I mean, he can just bury you on the front end.
Well, that was my thought process with till the end. I thought that this hard-knocking 8-year-old was going to sit in the catbird seat behind what looks like a hot early pace scenario. If they let Sir Seamus just get loose, he's going to be incredible. You know, he's stepping up today, but he's got those 2 impressive victories for Carlos David, who doesn't seem he knows how to lose. The barn has just been going so good. I just thought mine was the trip. Why I put the 1 over the 9 and over the 5. I just saw other speed in the race. I thought maybe till the end would close nicely. Can't go wrong with having Safi on your ticket.
No, definitely not. Late pick 5, meanwhile, kicks off in race number 8. We still have the 2 turf stakes coming down the pipe. And I am standing alone here in a race that I didn't have an incredibly strong opinion. And I said, why am I going to use 3 or 4 when I do prefer my top pick in the 9 Tappy Frost? And the fact of the matter is, I just wanted to have more coverage, more wiggle room in the subsequent races. So I'm looking for the 9 Tappy Frost to get it done as my single. Had liked him last time, and he ran okay in that spot. Now, of course, in hindsight, nobody was beating Girolamo's Attack, who ran away and hid. But I'd like to think with Juan Avila, who claimed this horse off basically a 5% barn, gave him 2 months on the sidelines, and now is wheeling Tappy Frost back on a 14-day quick turnaround. I'm thinking Tappy Frost is going to improve and get back to one of his better races. Not that he ran poorly. I think he's got more to give this afternoon as your morning line favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I had him further down in the ticket. I find it a really interesting single there for you. But you're right. If you get it done, you got a lot of coverage the rest of the way down. I did go with the horse you have in second, Chill Haze. Turn it back to 7 furlongs and drop it to the 20 level. Set the pace, finish second behind that repeat winner called the Avant Garde in a 25 test going a mile. So I looked up a stat on Chill Haze of Victor Barboza Jr. Horse is going a route to a sprint. Maiden claimers on the dirt. He's 8 for 18, 44%, 67% in the money. 265 is return of investment. So a little bit of a turn back this afternoon to 7/8 of a mile does it for me with Chill Haze, Semper 5, Excalibur, and those are the other 2 I used.
No, I think a mile for Chill Haze. I mean, he's run fine at a mile, but I think it's pushing it. I like him as well. I think he's a big player, obviously, turning back to 7 as he finally gets on a fast track for the first time since the month of April. Into the Martha Washington we go, 3-year-old fillies on the turf in your Saturday co-feature. And up first is that very important grudge match between Yesterday Once More and Tornasol. And I think that's probably 80% of the race, 75% of the race as they come out of a 1-2 finish. Now, in hindsight, this is a race I still cannot believe. I'm still incredulous that Yesterday Once More, who was able to get covered up, and Luca was very conscious about not losing a ton of ground with her. She split horses, she slipped through, and she punches it into high gear and just could not ever get away from Tornasol, who put in this furious finish. They're both pretty solid, these horses here. And again, Ronnie, I will not be shocked if they run 1-2 in that way, 7-3, or if they flip it and are 1-2 here, even though I did go in a different direction. Who do you like?
I went with Tornasolas turning back to the mile today after returning from the Freshing to notch her, her second consecutive victory. And when she won that race, you showed the Portofino, Safi Joseph Jr., Edgar Zayas yesterday once more. These are the two I had to use. They're going to repeat at a mile today to see who can do it one better than the other. And Patrick Biancone's going with Luker again. I thought these were the logical two. And then I had some interest in Fujihara, who's stretching out to mile break from post 7 this afternoon.
Yeah, I wonder what Fujiwara is going to do in this race. It does seem like she's refound her form. She had some promise, was ambitiously placed, and her form seemed to go sideways. And looks like Carlos has got her back on the right track. And does she stretch back out successfully? I mean, she had no issue going long on the turf last year around 2 turns during her 2-year-old season. This is a spot, the more I look, the more I just want to take a little bit of a stab, and she is a stab on my part in the 4 Bankrupt on the Beach. For starters, she's now at Mike Maker. I'm going into this thinking she needed her last at a big price in the sloppy track Azalea, and I just way prefer Temple City as a stallion. His horse is on the turf. I don't think he's a dirt stallion whatsoever. So I'm getting first-time turf at a decent price by Temple City, first-time turf with that pedigree for Mike Baker. Good enough for me to take a little bit of a stab.
Yeah, and a little further down the ticket, actually, was looking at my past performances here and put the old LS long shot. I almost made this one my long shot today. So a good handicapping on your part. We'll see how that race runs out. I just think the top 2 ran so well last time out. I got to give him one more chance.
Definitely. Now, we've evidently got the same top 2 because you went 2 deep in your Rainbow 6 here in the 10th, which for the record is our main track finale here on this Fast and Firm Saturday. 2 lifetime, 3-and-up Filly Mare Claimer, and I think 2 horses in the form of the 3 Mystic Coming Home. Well, if you want the speed, you're going to take this filly for Danny Pita and Amis Sayal. The other key horse, for obvious reasons, is the JBM that just broke maiden for Safi in the 6 Markistan.
Yeah, he crushed the field of $10,000 maidens, but got to step up on one that race by 8 lengths. I think those are a lot of logical too. If I would have gone deeper, I would have used the AGOLE that you have in 3rd, but I think those are the logical 2 in there.
Not surprising, we honor him with his annual namesake. He was just a wonderful sprinter and a real blue-collar Florida bred. I remember running in races like the Vosburg and the Breeders' Cup Sprint back in the mid-'90s, specifically that Breeders' Cup Sprint at Belmont in 1995. That was my first Breeders' Cup I attended as a fan back in the day. And in the not surprising, we've got a pretty evenly matched field, and I think a number of very relevant but very different plot lines at stake here. The one I find most interesting is the 5 Montfort, and the fact that we have not seen this son of Carpe Diem since the middle of February. We're going to go back, and I had pulled his last win. Again, you basically got to go back to President's Day or President's Weekend here with him on the far turn. I just wanted to show the style of this horse, and he reminds me in a way on a lesser scale. You remember that horse, Precious Passion, Ronnie, who used to run? I think it was Mary Hartman trained him, that he would open up like 15 or 20 lengths and keep on going. This horse was unbelievable over the winter, but, what's interesting today is we have not seen him since this runaway and hide type performance almost 6 months ago. Was he kind of a flash in the pan, maybe a little bit fluky, or is he going to come back and build off where he was, which was very impressive and fun to watch?
Well, that was his 4th consecutive victory that particular day, so he knows how to get to the winner's circle, and when you saw my Rainbow 6, that's why I went 4 deep. I could not leave him off the ticket, so I went 4 deep in that race and had to add Montfort.
Now, you like the 2 Graceful Kitten. I'll let you talk, and then I'll add my piece on him, because he's not going to be a big price. He's a horse I had kind of teased yesterday. I don't like in this spot. What do you like about the 2 Graceful Kitten?
Well, I thought he was pretty good when he won the 3 consecutive races, including the Armed Forces and the Proud Man Stakes to start his career. He runs bad in both the Pulpit Stakes, and you remember the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. He banged off the rail that day. What I liked about him, after saying all of that, is that he's Amador Sanchez, he's returning, and he's got a string of really sharp workouts over the track. So I just thought that maybe that this horse today comes back, and I'm really keen off his workouts. Maybe, and he's home where he likes to run. He does a good job.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Graceful Kitten has in store. I mean, this was something we had touched upon. Now he's a way better horse than Geonosis is on the turf. But it just worries me, and this was something I had said with Geonosis yesterday. I just don't think, in my humble opinion, those the Proud Man Stakes and the Armed Forces Stakes here last year, those 2-year-olds, down the line, they all turned into claiming horses. I just wonder about the quality of that race. And again, maybe I'm off base for penalizing a horse because he can't control who he's in against, and he won all those races. So he's an interesting player here, and I'm curious which way the pendulum is going to swing with the 2 Graceful Kitten. Now, we can both agree on both the 3 Kokomo and the 9 Gimme 20 being major players, and I'm thinking Kokomo is going to build off that game victory last time out, which was a career best effort for him as a lightly raced colt for Calumet by Uncle Mo out of an AP dam for Todd. And Ralph's done a great job with Gimme 20, who he's proved a couple of times he's not just a 5/8 turf sprinter. This horse has been good going around 2 turns.
Yeah, he's just on a declaration of war, and he's got MCL Jaramillo in the saddle today and Kokomo. Oh, did you say Uncle Mo?
I did say Uncle Mo, my friend.
I thought you did.
I did, yes, and he's got 2 in the Travers. Yep. All right, let's wrap things up. What do you say here? We've got the 12th race finale, and we'll end things right around 6 p.m. today, and with the mandatory tomorrow, of course. And Ronnie and I will be doing a special video in just a few moments, which we'll put out on social media. But let's wrap up here, Ronnie, so we can send it up to Pete. I see you're going more towards the outside with the number 9 Hero up. Are you looking just to put this thing to bed early, right to the lead?
Right to the lead in there. Bohemian Park, my second choice. I just thought that mine, like I said when I gave out my ticket, bit of a speed player. I only went too deep in here with the 7 and the 9.
Yeah, I'll take the 7 Bohemian Park as just an obvious major player off good recent form for Joe Orsino. And the Misael Jaramillo as we send it on up to a man always in good form, the one and only Pete Aiello with those scratches and changes.